Hi everybody, this is Kevin Tampone with syracuse.com. President Donald Trump continues to push an aggressive agenda of spending cuts and other changes at the federal level. And a lot of those changes are filtering down to central New York. We're going to look at a few of the biggest stories that took place over the last week involving the federal government and how those stories touched CNY. First up is the Food Bank of Central New York. Now, the Food Bank is an organization that provides millions of pounds of food every year to soup kitchens, food pantries, and shelters throughout the region. And the food bank is set to lose about 1.7 million pounds of food shipments in the coming months after the Trump administration cut funding for food assistance programs. Those shipments represent about 6.5% of all the food that the food bank receives in a year that it then distributes to other organizations. Officials at the food bank say they don't know why this change occurred, and it's uncertain if another program is going to step in to fill the gap. Next up is Interfaith Works. Interfaith Works is a nonprofit in Syracuse that works on a variety of issues, and one of the big ones is refugee resettlement. Now, Interfaith Works has laid off 19 employees that worked in refugee resettlement after the Trump administration cut funding for refugee resettlement programs all over the country. Interfaith Works could lose up to $4 million in federal aid as a result of these changes. On the immigration front, lawyers for a Cornell University graduate student named Mamadou Tall were in federal court in Syracuse this week to argue that the federal government is trying to illegally deport Tall for attending pro-Palestinian protests last year. Now, this is part of a much bigger wave of deportations and attempted deportations that the Trump administration is undertaking nationwide of student activists who were attending pro-Palestinian protests at one point or another. Tall's lawyers argued in court that his case could serve as kind of a test case for the whole country on what type of First Amendment protections these students who are here studying on student visas from other countries deserve. The federal government lawyers who were there argued that this particular case was essentially trying to make an end run around the normal immigration process. Now, the judge in the case ultimately ruled against Tall. She said that Tall's lawyers had not established that the federal court clearly had jurisdiction in this matter. Finally, Representative John Mannion introduced his first bill in the House this week. He is the House member who represents the greater Syracuse area in the House. Mannion's bill would block the Trump administration from ending special education programs as it seeks to dismantle the federal education department. It would also require that programs for students with disabilities remain at the education department and not be transferred to other agencies. There's a lot more to all these stories. You can keep up with all of it by reading syracuse.com.